Globalisation and fundamentalism. As the world is globalising and modernisation is spreading, the concept of religious fundamentalism has become more prominent around the world. Fundamentalism, religion based on unquestioning beliefs in the literal truth of sacred texts. Fundamentalists believe that there is only one true view of the world, which is revealed in a sacred text, not gained through rational argument or scientific inquiry. It's important here to highlight that fundamentalism does not necessarily mean extreme or radical fundamentalism. Do not immediately assume that all fundamentalists are terrorists, as this is not the case. It may at first seem contradictory that fundamentalism is growing along the rational, scientific, modernized world, but there is a rational explanation for this trend. Giddens highlights that fundamentalism is a relatively new concept. He argues that the reason society has seen a growth in the fundamentalism is because they are reacting against the globalized postmodern direction that the world is taking. Fundamentalists see the current trends toward liberalism and freedom of choice as undermining their religions and, as such, wish to re-establish their religions at the fundamental traditional level. Liberal influence includes the acceptance of sex before marriage, homosexuality, divorce reform, cohabitation, and the prohibition of abortion and contraception. Fundamentalism versus cosmopolitanism. Cosmopolitanism, a way of thinking about the world that embraces modernization, is tolerant of other views, is characterized by diversity, freedom, choice, and uncertainty. Cosmopolitanism is a threat to many religions which prefer traditionalism, closed views, regulation, and order. Drawing attention to different types of fundamentalism. Western fundamentalism usually develops as a result of changes occurring within their own societies, e.g. the Christian New Right in the USA. Third world fundamentalism tends to develop as a response to outsider cultures forcing change on these third world societies, usually Westerners imposing on Eastern cultures, e.g. Islamic Revolution in Iran. Criticism of Giddens, Bauman, Castells and Bruce. Beckford, 2003. They ignore hybrid communities where cosmopolitanism and fundamentalism is not polar opposites, e.g. the use of media technologies. They are fixated on how globalization affects fundamentalism and ignore its effects on general religions. Giddens doesn't distinguish between different types of fundamentalism. Extremism is not just a reaction to globalization, but also to more localized problems. Globalization and religion as a cultural defense. As the world globalizes, national identities mean less and less, e.g., politicians now talk about the European community or the Middle East or Asia rather than identifying individual countries. As such, societies around the world are experiencing a crisis of identity, whereby their cultures, languages, traditions and politics are becoming less significant. Individual national identities are being replaced as a collective international identity. As a response to this, many countries use their religion to restore their individual identities. Religion thus acts as a cultural defense, a way of holding on to the national heritage, tradition, culture and politics, a way of re-individualizing oneself. Poland and Catholicism. During this era, Poland was under communist rule, forced on them by Russia's Soviet Union. Catholicism was suppressed during this time, but still acted as a symbol for Polish national identity. The Catholic Church supported the Solidarity III movement, which helped bring down the communist rule. Since this, the Church has been very influential in Polish politics. Iran and Islam, 1979 Revolution. In the 1950s, the democratic government in Iran was overthrown by a pro-Western regime, which was supported by Western oil companies and Western governments. This Westernization was headed by the Shah of Iran. During the 1960s to 70s, the Shah's successor attempted to force Westernized values on Iran by banning the veil and replacing the Iranian calendar with a Western-friendly calendar. Also due to the takeover of capitalism, the divide between the poor and the rich increased. The Islamic religion was used as a focal point to rally opposition against the Shah's regime. The Islamic Revolution 1979 helped create the Islamic Republic, where clerics held state power and helped restore traditional Islamic values back to Iran. Both Poland and Iran act as examples of how religion has acted as a cultural defense against a perceived external threat of the globalized world. Globalization, religion and the clash of civilizations. Huntington, 1993. Religion is often the core of many global conflicts. Huntington describes this as the clash of civilizations. Huntington identifies 7 civilizations: Western, Latin, American, Confucian, Japanese, Islamic, Hindu, and Slavic Orthodox. Although religion binds countries within these civilizations together, religion also causes conflicts between civilizations. This is happening more than ever because religion is becoming more and more important as a source of national identity. Plus, globalization means that civilizations are more likely to be in contact with each other, which means old conflicts re-emerge easier. In the globalized world, religion creates an us versus them mentality as competition for wealth and power grows on the global scale. Religious differences are harder to resolve as they are closed systems which are rooted in history. Huntington believes that the West is under threat, especially from Islam, and a West versus the rest campaign is emerging, and as such the West need to reassert their Christian identity. Criticisms. Jackson, 2006. Huntington's work is based in Orientalism. He stereotypes Eastern civilizations as untrustworthy, fanatical, barbarian, and inferior, particularly Muslims. Huntington generalizes far too much. Only a small minority of the world's 1.5 billion Muslims are interested in a holy war on fanaticism. Fanaticism has only been caused due to the West imposing their values and politics on the Middle East. The West should bear most of the blame, and the Islam should not be scapegoated.